Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we got to talk about an absolutely insane bill in the state of California that has been put forward by the state's progressive legislature, and essentially the only way to undo this is to count on Governor Gavin Newsom, of all people, in order to veto it, because it's absurd on every possible level. Yes, we're talking about up to $150,000 in a grant to cover down payments for homes. That includes those that are in this country illegally. Now, we're going to get into this. I'm going to break this down and tell you why it's stupid, not just on the illegal immigrant level, but on all levels. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
A state bill could allow undocumented immigrants to purchase a home.
If passed, California would become the first state to grant them state-supported home loans.
So right off the top, the reason I'm a couple of days late compared to other people on this particular topic is because when I first saw the headlines for this, that California was going to give illegal immigrants up to $150,000 on their down payment for a home loan, I was a bit skeptical. I know California is very woke, very left-wing. I know that progressives over there are trying everything and anything to integrate illegal immigrants into our society. That way, if there ever is a deportation program, there's no way we'll be able to achieve it. But this, to me, was obviously too stupid for it to be real. But like the great Anna Kasparian has said time and time again on this channel, it is in fact real.
It's real, guys. It's real.
Anna, again, I just said that. You don't need to interrupt me in order to interject.
It's legislation in Sacramento receiving national attention, a first-in-the-nation effort to allow undocumented immigrants state money for the purchase of a home. The bill's author, Assemblyman Joaquin Arambula of Fresno.
The social and economic benefits of homeownership should be accessible to everyone, regardless of immigration status.
So as you just heard from the author of this particular bill, this is not something that somebody discovered in the text that is being hidden and attempted to be slipped by. This is the stated goal of this particular bill, to extend this California program to everyone regardless of immigration status. And that is exactly how the law reads. That's exactly what it's intended to do. And this is objectively a disaster for the state of California. And this segment actually references how it could have national implications because we're in an election year and obviously the evil orange man is running on immigration issues. So this could be a topic that Vice President Harris is going to have to answer for on the debate stage, considering that she is, in fact, a former California senator.
Governor Gavin Newsom has not said if he will sign the bill, which could complicate the party's messaging this election year on the volatile immigration issue. Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris has endorsed funding for the border wall. She's also backed a modest federal home down payment grant, but one that excludes undocumented immigrants. Donald Trump has already condemned the California legislation.
And by the way, Kamala has been talking a lot about how she wants to do more affordable housing for everybody in this country. Just remember that she's somebody who was a district attorney in San Francisco, the attorney general in California, and think about how their state doesn't build anything, how regulations crush housing, and how all these stupid programs have the exact opposite effect of what is intended. So there's no way anybody should buy in to Kamala's plan to build more housing, because nothing in her record shows that she even remotely understands the housing market. And in fact, her time as a politician in local politics, where these issues are more prominent, shows the opposite. She's never done anything to make it easier to build.
For those who qualify under the California Dream for All program, the state would pay the 20% down payment for a first-time home buyer, up to $150,000. Assembly Bill 1840 would amend the program so that those in the country in violation of federal law would also be eligible.
Undocumented individuals have historically been excluded from housing initiatives because of federal restrictions. Ensuring universal access by all qualified borrowers to the California Dream for All program will contribute to the overall success and vitality of California.
Again, this guy is not ambiguous in the goal of this particular bill. He wants illegal immigrants to get this state money, even though they're in violation of federal law, towards them being able to buy their house. But is he not merciful? This is only applicable to first-time homebuyers. And by the way, when I actually look at the program, it appears that it's also only applicable to first-generation homebuyers. So regular people who are citizens of the United States of America, residents of California, who have never owned a home in their family are going to be competing, because this is a voucher system, for up to $150,000 with illegal immigrants, those that are in violation of federal law, towards their down payment in order to buy a home. Now, I would like to sidestep the illegal immigrant issue for just a second to point out how even this program for citizens is actually completely insane in every possible way. California does not have a demand problem. Let's be clear about that. And this program is actually going to stimulate demand. Just think about it. If you are thinking about renting, or you can get maybe 20% up to $150,000 of your down payment covered by the state of California, then that is going to push you more into the buyer's market. But the problem is there's already a shortage of housing in the state of California. There are too many buyers and too few homes. And a perfect example of when you have all these rules and regulations preventing building from occurring, and a contrasting example would be the city of Los Angeles versus the city of Nashville. Get a load of these charts that I discovered when looking up building compared to price, just so you can get an idea of what they're dealing with. This is one of the fastest growing cities in the United States of America, and this chart that comes from Zillow and Axios shows us how prices have jumped and fallen over the past couple of years from January 19 to May of 2023. And as you can see, prices appear to be fluctuating, jumping up and down. But if you understand these dates, you get that a lot of this will coincide with interest rate drops and spikes that have occurred over this period of time. Or does it? You see, while it is, of course, undeniable that the COVID era interest rate cuts ended up leading to greater home purchases, prices going through the roof, and this was actually made worse by the fact that we had shutdowns and lockdowns that ended up restricting supplies of building materials, so we didn't have a lot of new construction projects that were coming into effect for a certain period of time. And even when we did, the price of lumber, the price of all these key components for houses ended up going up. But let us look at a chart of Nashville's home building that parallels this period of time. So as you can see right here, and this is a comparison of the national home building numbers to the local home building numbers, Nashville had ebbs and flows of home constructions, permits issued anyway, that's what's being tracked right here, throughout this period of time. And in fact, if you try to line up this chart with the pricing chart that I showed you earlier, they are remarkably similar. So the reason why these two charts are pretty much aligned is because Nashville is a city within a state that makes it easier to build. So what you're actually seeing is that supply is trying to catch up to demand, even when you take into account the shortage of materials and all those things that made prices go up. And that's why in 2023, as compared to 2022, also with interest rates as well, you actually saw home prices lower than in the previous year. Now, I'm not saying they're lower overall. Remember, this is a year-over-year chart. Obviously, there was a spike. If you live in and around the Nashville area, you know that home prices are in fact up, but they're not up to such a crazy degree where nobody can afford homes. And again, when prices go up, you expect there to be more building to counteract those price increases. And that appears to be what is happening in the relatively normal market that is in Nashville, Tennessee. Now, if we compared Nashville to, let's say, Los Angeles, what you would see is absolute insanity on the left coast in the United States of America. So this is the Los Angeles Tiered Price Index, and what you can see is that prices obviously went down after the Great Recession because that was a housing market collapse. They stayed down for a little while, but then they started shooting up dramatically. And obviously you see this line that has the COVID-19 shutdowns, but they are still continuing an upward trajectory. And by the way, one of the biggest increases of all of these is the low tier home. and the mid-tier home, which are growing faster than the high-tier home. So I like the fact that this chart is broken up into the tiers, and as you can see right here, the low tier, which is $0 to $860,000, and for those of you who don't live in a major metropolitan area like New York or Los Angeles, let me pause so you can freak out about that being the low tier price at the top end, is growing faster than the other two tiers, the mid-tier and the luxury tier in terms of price. Now, it would be one thing if that lower tier home was growing that fast and then the market was able to respond by producing more and more of those homes because there's so much demand for it. But the fact of the matter is, what we see in Los Angeles is just the opposite. Now, this chart is going to be a bar graph chart, so it's not going to be the lines, so there's no little tricky trick where you could realign them. But if you pay attention to the dates on the bottom and the permits that are being issued for building homes, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. So as you can see right here with this bar graph chart, what we see is that it starts in 2010. This is coming out of the Great Recession, and obviously home permits are going to be down because there was a big crash specifically in the housing market. But it gets all the way up to its peak in these years in 2015. Then it starts to drop down and hang in and around 14,000, 15,000, 12,000, like somewhere around that area. But as you can see for the 2023 numbers, and again, this is the most updated numbers, we actually have 11,000 at the same point in time compared to 12,000 the year before in 2022. So in 2023, as compared to 2022 in the city of Los Angeles, we end up seeing a decline in home permits issued as compared to the previous time in the previous year. Now, this is at the same time that you have every single politician running on increasing the number of homes, running on affordable housing and all that. And yet the permit system has no such alignment with the market at all whatsoever. Remember, what we should be seeing is a steady increase in the number of permits being issued throughout all of these years, because when you look at the price chart, every single category of home is going up in value. And again, the most significant increase in terms of home price is the lower tier home. What these sets of charts tell me, and they should tell all of you out there in the audience, is that there is a complete separation between demand and supply in the city of Los Angeles, and that is just not true in the city of Nashville, and that is why Nashville is comparatively much more affordable than the city of Los Angeles. Every single year on this bar graph chart, we should be seeing dramatic increases in the number of permits issued to catch up to the dramatic price increases. And the only reason we should see a leveling off like we see in this chart is due to the fact that prices responding to the increased supply have to naturally come down. But that's not what happens. And by the way, Los Angeles isn't even the most unaffordable city in California. I could have pulled up charts of San Francisco. I could have pulled up charts of many other cities within the state, because a lot of these regulations are statewide regulations that ultimately end up hampering the ability to build and thus costing people opportunities at home ownership. And again, I will point out, I will highlight it, the people who are suffering the most are those that are in the market for those low tier homes. And this makes perfect sense, because if you're going to build something, if you're going to try to overcome the California regulatory system, you might as well build something that's high priced, because obviously you can make profits, but it is actually worthwhile for you to do. Now, anybody who looks at this chart and says, you know what I need to do? I need to go out of my way to add in $150,000, inject that into the market, specifically into the low end portion of that, in order to have people catch up without doing anything about the supply of housing, is an idiot, is insane. That's just going to jack up the prices even more dramatically. And the crazy thing is that not even every citizen is eligible for this up to $150,000 in down payment assistance. So you're putting illegal immigrants and people who can't afford to save up for a down payment ahead of more qualified buyers who happen to be citizens who have the down payment saved up on their own, and it's just going to get further and further out of reach. And look, I'm going to tell you this as a YouTuber who does pretty well for myself. I've looked around at homes in the neighborhoods that I've grown up in the city of New York. I've looked at these properties and I've tracked their prices from when I was a kid until now, and I make a good living as a YouTuber. It seems nearly impossible. Every year that I wait, prices go up significantly more, and it just becomes further and further out of reach. And I'm trying to run a business here. At the same time, I would love to have a home. I rented this apartment so that I could have a dedicated studio room. But the fact of the matter is, if I can't do it in New York, if many people in my same situation or many people in a better situation can't do it in California, that is very troubling. And that is something to be concerned about. And the idea that you would put people who came into this country illegally ahead of citizens like me, who have lived in this neighborhood my whole life, would be really infuriating. And I'm sure there are many a Californian who feel that exact same way.
California Senate Minority Leader Brian Jones.
Every dollar that goes to an illegal immigrant is a dollar not going to our veterans or other Californians, other legal residents or citizens that also qualify for that money. This isn't an unlimited bucket of money that the state has available for these homebuyer programs.
Look, this is obviously true. Every single dollar in this program that goes to an illegal immigrant is a dollar that doesn't go to a citizen. But one of the worst things that we have to focus on is not the implications of this coming up in a presidential debate, is the fact that it's up to Gavin Newsom.
Evan Simon has been covering the vote for the political website California Globe. He says passage of the bill is nearly assured.
There's enough progressive Democrats right now in Sacramento who will get it passed. That's why all eyes are on Newsom.
Governor Gavin Newsom has not said if he will sign the bill.
Gavin Newsom's going to have to decide whether to sign or veto this. And as we've covered over and over again, what he does has no connection with what's right, what's moral, what's sane, what a sober-minded person would do, and has everything to do with the possibility that he could run for president in 2028 and what he believes will give him the best advantage in that future election. And that is not how California housing policy should be determined. But unfortunately for the residents of that state, that is how it's being determined. Now, of course, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Obviously, there's the illegal immigrant angle, but the program overall is inherently flawed and will definitely increase the prices for all California home buyers. And this is just another plan in a series of plans that constantly, continuously attempts to attack this problem at the same angle and ultimately ends up increasing the prices of homes. Again, all your thoughts down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social media, support me via support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the absolute insanity of offering illegal immigrants up to $150,000 in down payment assistance in California. Till next time.